Welcome back to the Too Much Hockey Podcast, presented by our friends at Shadified Salon and Barbershop. They have the three locations in Edmonton, and we have a very cool guest, special guest. He's a very busy person. He's selling out condo buildings, and he's got the MacLean Invitational, and he's got a book coming. So he's a very busy man. You can find him on Fridays with Real Kipper and Bourne. Really cool show on Fridays afternoon on Sportsnet. We have Doug MacLean. He's a former NHL head coach, scout, general manager, and president. Mac, welcome back. How's it going?
Thanks, man. Good to be with you. It's good. It's like I think I only have 2 weeks left of Kipper's show, which I think that's the most exciting thing I've got going on in my life right now. 2 more weeks of dealing with that every Friday afternoon.
Oh man, that's tough for everyone.
But
Everyone
I'll,
loves you though, right? But
I'll tell you what, I had a really special day yesterday.
okay,
I went to Charlottetown with Jim Clark, who's a longtime NHL assistant GM, scout, and so on, and Paul M. Skierman, who runs the local radio station. We went to Forbes Kennedy's wake yesterday. Forbes Kennedy is a PEI legend. It's really funny. I was thinking yesterday, I was playing Little League Baseball in 1967, and I was a catcher. And we were playing in the Island Championship, and the winning team got to go to Toronto to the CNE Little League tournament. And I was the catcher of the Summerside team, and Forbes Kennedy was the umpire right behind me.
wow.
And at that time, he was playing in the NHL as a player, and he was umpiring baseball in the summer. So Forbes became like a PEI major legend for anybody that ever got involved in the NHL. Great friends and mentor to Gerard Gallant and myself and any Al McAdam, Ricky Vive, and any NHL guy from PEI, Brad Richards, all the great NHL players from PEI. Forbes was always a legend. And anyway, passed away at 90 this week and coached junior teams in PEI and everybody involved with the game knew him. I went yesterday to the Civic Center in Charlottetown. There had to be 2 or 3 thousand people in line. They had his wake at the Civic Center, and his funeral is going to be this morning there. And I'm talking to people there. Al McAdam and I met.
Yeah.
We talked to lots of people I hadn't seen in years, and I said, where else in Canada would this happen for a hockey legend that there would be 2 to 3 thousand people going through the line to see to pay their respects to Forbes Kennedy and what he's done for hockey people and hockey fans and sports fans and PEI. So it was a great hockey day, and got to talk to Forbes family, and so it was really a special day. It really was.
Yeah. I always say when you have turnouts like that or funerals like that or celebrations like that, you've really impacted a lot of people's lives in a
Oh,
real positive way when you have
yeah,
that kind of turnout. And there's
yeah, it was amazing.
it's standing room only, right? So
Oh, it's great.
yeah, nice, nice little memory you've talked there about
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
Obviously, condolences out to the family and anyone
yeah.
that's going to be missing Forbes Kennedy. We'll move over to some Canucks stuff here, Mac. The Canucks late last night make the announcement official that they bring in Manny Malhotra as their head coach. Obviously, a very close tie into the Sedins and Johnson. So all four parties kind of seem to know each other very well. What's your thoughts on what the Canucks have been able to do in these last few weeks and the Malhotra hiring and how that's going to look for them?
Well, you know what? I think we saw Bruce Boudreau's comments the last few days on, the dysfunction that's been going on in the Canucks land for a few years there with the last management team. And, Jimmy Rutherford's a friend of mine. So I don't know what really went on between Alvin and him. And, Jimmy's the boss. You knew that. So he was going to make decisions. And Alvin seemed like he was obviously the secondary guy. I mean, this is a team that 3 or 4 years ago you would have said they were on the verge of becoming a really good team. When they went to the limit with Edmonton in that playoff series, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, it was a series where I'm thinking Talkett's there. Things look like this looks like a team that's got a chance to take a major step. Travis Green had sort of built the foundation there, I thought. The bubble, they had that great series, great run. And it's been a disaster. For whatever reason, the guys that were supposed to be the cornerstone of their franchise basically have all left, with the exception of Demko and Besser. But Pedersen has dropped like a rock. They had to trade Quinn. They had to trade Miller. The foundation guys are barely hanging on there. Demko's had the injury problems, so it's been a disaster for whatever reason, and a great franchise. So, well, I had Ryan Johnson as a player with the Panthers. He was a draft pick of ours, and I was doing player development. And I remember going to North Dakota to watch him play, and he was just a great kid. And then I followed him in the NHL. I think that I don't know if everybody knows this, but Ryan at that time was dating Aaron Andrews, who was the famous Fox broadcaster and married to Jared Stoll. Anyway, I always liked Ryan a lot, and I had Greg, his brother, is a player in Detroit, and I really liked Greg. Unfortunately, Greg passed, and just a wonderful guy. And Ryan, I think Ryan Johnson is a great hire. I really do. I think he's a personable guy. Is he the fancy style of a Sonny Mehta and Chaika? No, he's not. I think he's paid his dues, and I think he's a smart guy, and I think he's a really good hire.
Yeah.
And to hire Manny, I had Manny in Columbus, picked him up on waivers from Dallas, and he had a good run in Columbus. He and I, there's something happened between he and I. I don't know. I'm not sure what it is, but obviously he's not a big Doug MacLean fan, and so I'm not a big Manny fan.
Yeah.
So I don't care. But you know what? Manny makes sense to me as a hire. I think he's a good hire by Ryan. Obviously, they've got great chemistry from Abbotsford, and to me, Manny makes all the sense in the world for Ryan, and I think it's a good hire. And I hope it's the start of. And I'm disappointed because I had Adam as a player too in Columbus. We brought him in as a free agent. He became our captain. And I like Adam a lot. Tough break for Adam. Hopefully he gets another chance. But I think it's a good hire by Ryan, and I think it's a good team approach there. Cohesiveness in the front office between the coach and management is really important, and it'll last for a while, and hopefully they can turn it around. The problem with this is there's so much work to do with the hockey team.
Yeah.
There's so much work to do to turn this around and turn the vibe around, and that not unlike what's going on in Toronto.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe not Edmonton's had a ton more success.
Yeah.
So it's not the same. It's not even close, but both those franchises, it's more than just the management and the coach. That's a big step, but they got a lot of work to do from a player perspective to fix both franchises, Toronto and Vancouver.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unfortunate about Manny, but you know what? You talked about it on Friday with Nick and Justin, that a lot of guys that you had in Columbus are turning to be great coaches. And there's two names that you're very close to too. And Gilbert Brule, who's killing it with the BC Junior Canucks at the brick level, the U8, U11 level, like what Gilbert's been able to do with those kids and how progressing their development. Then you got Jason Chimera on the other hand, who's doing a good job growing the female hockey here in Edmonton with the OHA. And, those are two good guys and a lot of other guys that you've had that are on NHL benches too, that I think it's a cool thing that you have that tie-in, Mac. I know you touched on it a bit on Friday, but these guys are like the Brules and the Chimeras. I think if they want, they could be NHL head coaches someday because these guys understand the game and they grind a lot. Too.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I mean, it's impressive. I mean, I love Gilbert, and obviously the career didn't go how he and I both wanted it to go. But this guy, I'm telling you, I still think every time I drive through Moncton, and I could drive through there a lot when I'm coming home to BI. I think of the Memorial Cup in Moncton where I watched Gilbert Brule play, and I'm telling you, I'm sitting there having drafted him the year before, sent him back to junior, and watched him in Vancouver, watched him in Moncton in that Memorial Cup. I'm telling you, I've never seen a performance like this guy put on in a Memorial Cup in a long time. And I remember sitting in the stands, and every scout and hockey person and media person going, I was like, oh my God, how good is this guy going to be? Didn't turn out the way we all wanted it, but he was a heck of a young player, boy. I'm telling you, I'm telling you, I'm saying this is a lot to say,
Yeah.
but he was every bit as good as Steve Yzerman coming out of junior, every bit.
Yeah.
And he sort of reminded me of him a little bit, the way he played. But anyway, and Jason was just, remember we traded Jeff Sanderson for Jason Chimera. Jason was in Phoenix, and we made that trade, Jeff Sanderson for Jason Chimera. And Jason had a great career after coming to Columbus, and then ended up moving on to Washington. I mean, he had a really good career and a really great guy. Really a great guy. So anyway, I'm glad for both of them. And they're both, I mean, hockey communities are lucky that when these guys step up, these types of guys step up and do the job. It's great for the kids, and it's great for the communities, and it's great for Jason and Gilbert.
Yeah, 100% it is. I want to get just a thought just came to my mind because I posted this the other day. Joel Ward, what's your thoughts on him? Do you like, he's obviously an assistant with Vegas right now. Do you think Joel, great NHL career too, but do you think there's a chance that we could potentially sometime down the road hear his name in head coaching positions? I do think he's done a great job of what he's been able to do in Vegas, even in Henderson too, but I don't know how much you know of Joel, but what you see and what you know now, is there a way that could be another name surfacing sometime down the road?
There's no doubt in my mind it's a name that's going to, and it should be, because it's really funny. Joel Ward ended up playing for the UPEI Panthers. Okay. And when I think at that time I was in Columbus, I think I was in Columbus, because I remember his name coming up as a free agent and playing at UPEI. And he went to UPEI from, I believe, Kitchener, that area, went to PEI and became a legend with the UPEI hockey program. A legend because of what he did on the ice, but a legend also because of what he did for the program as a leader. Amazing leader. And I remember following him and our scouts talking about him. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he signed with Minnesota as out of UPEI. So I followed his career really closely, to be quite honest, ever since, that connection. And I saw his name mentioned recently. Was it Edmonton or somewhere? I saw his name mentioned. And this is a guy that, yeah, he was a really good hockey player. Yeah, he became a good pro, but also an unbelievable guy. And a hockey person. So it'll not surprise me that he joins us. He becomes a head coach. I know he's, assistant coach and doing a good job, but this is a guy that's going to become a hot name. Trust me, a hot name in hockey circles, and he deserves it. I love guys like that absolutely pay their dues and get an opportunity, and it's finally coming for Joel, and he's paid his dues for a long time. So good on him.
Yeah, well said, Mac. I'm glad that you've brought some light to that, because it definitely means a lot there. We'll finish up with we got a few more, but we'll finish up on the kind of coaching stuff with Edmonton to Toronto. There's all this stuff with David Carl. Is he going to be the head coach of the Leafs? Is he not? Is are the Leafs out, or he out? Is he like? There's just so much going on. I know Elliot Freeman was a bit annoyed with it yesterday too, and he's has his struggles and trying to get to the bottom of it. And I'm sure he'll have an update on his podcast that came out today. But where are you at with David Carl here? And is it weird? Is it a bit weird that he's somewhat demanding, almost up to $8 million per year to be a head coach in the NHL? Like I don't know. What's your thoughts here on David Carl's situation?
I know I saw it the other day, and Nick had mentioned $48 million for a 6-year deal in Toronto. And to me, I think David Carl has done a really good job. I followed him in Denver, the World Junior. He's done a good job. And, in all likelihood, he's going to become, probably a pretty good coach in the NHL. But who knows? Who has any idea if he's going to be? I mean, I understand Division I college hockey is great hockey. There's been great coaches that have gone on to be successful. So I would never underestimate the guy. But it just, all it tells me is he doesn't want to coach in the NHL right now. That's all it tells me. He's not prepared to take that step to become an NHL head coach because the money is ludicrous and the conversation is ludicrous. And I think it's, hey, he's happy in Denver. Maybe he's eyeing the Colorado job eventually from a family perspective. I can't blame him for that.
Yep.
So I understand it, but it's David Carl is going to be a really good coach. I hope for his sake. And he's got to pick the right If you're going to become a really successful NHL coach, there's one thing you have to do is you have to pick your spots where you're going to go.
Correct.
Bruce Cassidy was smart enough. He picked Boston Bruins, had a great run there. Vegas, great run there. I think of Mark Crawford. Think of the jobs Mark Crawford had. Okay. Colorado Avalanche was his first job. Then he goes to Vancouver. Then he goes to Dallas. Great situations. Me, on the other hand, expansion job in Florida and an expansion job in Columbus.
Yeah.
Never a chance with a damn regular.
Yeah.
So I chuckle about that often. But if Carl's smart, he'll pick the best spot he can because he's, people really think a lot of him right now. And he deserves it with what he's done so far in his career. For me, it was a PR move by the Leafs. That's what it was. It was a PR move to, we're trying to get this guy. And now it's going to be interesting who they really hire, and I look at both Vancouver and Toronto as very similar situations. Yeah, the coaching hire is really important, but the big job is who's going to play for these teams.
Correct.
That's the challenge. I mean, look at the number of teams in the NHL that have to improve themselves because of pressure in their markets. Edmonton as an example, Jersey as an example. Some good franchises have to make some big moves in free agency, which means that Toronto and some of these other teams are going to work a lot harder to acquire these. There's so few good free agents. There's lots of free agents coming out that can play in the league, but how many difference makers are there in free agency? And these teams, Vancouver and Toronto, need big time difference makers. That's the challenge. So I'm not as worried about who's going to coach the Leafs or who's going to coach Vancouver. How are they going to rebuild these franchises? That's going to be the fun thing to watch. Yeah. And sometimes it happens quick. You get lucky, and sometimes it takes forever. And, hiring, they love the fancy titles. Now they've got chief of staff or what is it?
Freddie Hamilton. Yeah.
What's his role?
Yeah, chief of staff. There, I guess what I was told the other day, and I'm kind of going off what Elliot said too. It's like we all know Peter Hanlon very well, and it sounds like it's the Peter Hanlon role, which is the first role to be adopted. Like Peter Hanlon got the assistant general manager title in Calgary, but he's kind of the guy that brings everyone aligned. He brings the staff, he brings the coaching staff, he brings the management staff. So it's like that's the version of what Freddie Hamilton is going to do in Toronto is the Peter Hanlon role, what he's been able to do in Calgary. So
what has Peter done in Hamilton? What do you mean bring? What do you mean bring the guests? Doesn't the GM and the coach and the scouts? I mean, you need somebody to bring them together.
I guess nowadays it's something that's starting this new trend, and like obviously, Peter for a long time was the VP of Vice President of Communications.
I know Peter. He was the PR guy.
Yeah.
Nice, great guy. Yeah. Great guy.
Yeah. So
he's the conduit now of all the success there.
Correct. That's pretty much what they're saying and what's been out there. Like, and I'm going off what Elliot said, because Elliot asked, they're like, Matt Marchese asked, what does chief of staff mean? And the best analogy Elliot could say was what Peter Hanlon's doing in Calgary, and that's pretty much aligning all staff members together. They just came up with a different title in Toronto than they did in Calgary. But apparently, when Tree Living left Calgary to go to Toronto, he was trying to bring Peter Hanlon with him to do the same there, but obviously he didn't leave Calgary. He stayed in Calgary. He didn't go to Toronto. So I don't know. That's the.
So now you need somebody to align the staff.
Apparently now you do. Not when you're the general manager back in the day, Mac. You did it yourself. So
it's such BS. It
is. It is.
I really like Peter Hanlon.
Yeah.
But give me a break. That this is all it's BS and it's PR. That's what it is.
It's happening here in Edmonton. Like Toronto has 6 general managers. Oilers last week announced 3 hirings of assistant general managers. They promoted their WHL general manager for NHL assistant. He's an NHL assistant general manager for player procurement.
Yeah. I understand what that's all about, because it's the idea of they're really just the head scout.
Yeah.
But now they need a better title, and they need another, so that they make sure they keep them in the organization. So they give them bumps and it's titles make guys really happy. That's fine. And I understand that. I remember when I was in Detroit and Brian changed me from assistant coach to associate coach. It was a big deal for me. So
yeah,
titles are titles, and that's great. And I think it's really good for guys' careers, and that's great. And I understand all that. But does it really affect how organizations are run?
I don't.
I look at Jimmy Nill, and I look at Bill Zito, and I look at who the top 10 GMs in the NHL.
Brisebois, right? Like
Brisebois, Doug Armstrong. Do they have all these BS? Do they have all these BS titles?
They do not, Mac. They do not. I looked at it yesterday. Jeff O'Neill was going on a rant on his show. I looked at it yesterday after his show. I said, because they asked Justin Williams, they're like, what would you rather have? And I'll ask you the question. It's a question I stole. Would you rather have a really good head coach or a really good general manager running your team? And the analogy they brought up, would you have, if I was to come to you today, Mac, and said, Mac, you're going back as a general, it's tough because you did this position, but the analogy they brought up, would you have Brisebois, would you have Jim Neal, or would you have Cooper
or Billy Guerin? Give me Billy Guerin.
Or Billy Guerin. Say Billy. So you have those 2 guys, or would you want Cooper or Rod Brindamore as your head coach? And Jeff, like it was interesting. Like Justin Williams said head coach, and then Jeff O'Neill said Brisebois. He went the general manager route. So, but Jeff O'Neill's point of I would go with Brisebois because he doesn't have all these weird 6 assistant general manager titles, right? So.
I think the general manager job is really, really important, and I think that one of the key jobs of a general manager is hiring the right coach.
Yeah.
And hiring the right director of amateur scouting, and hiring the right director of pro scouting. And then to think you need a chief of staff to bring it together, I think it's PR moves is what it is, but that's fine. They can do whatever they want. I mean, somebody told me the other day, Toronto are going to fill out a 97 people on their hockey operations staff.
Yeah.
I thought it was 77 when I was writing Game Day about the life of an NHL GM. I thought I had 77 as what their front office was. So I don't care what they do. The bottom line, and they can name 100 people. The bottom line is going to be what happens on the ice.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about. What happens to the Toronto Maple Leafs on the ice? I guess if Freddie Hamilton helps them be successful, okay, great, happy for them. But it's all about what happens on the ice. And I look at the top, like another guy. How many chiefs of staff does Pat Verbeek have in Anaheim?
Yeah, he relies on, I think, 2 people. So
I mean, let's not get carried away with all the BS.
Yeah. And these are great names: the Billy Guerins, the Brisebois, the Verbeeks. I guess you could say,
and diverse and different backgrounds.
Yeah.
different backgrounds, but they're really, and Jimmy Nill, I keep going to him, and Brisbaum. I mean, and Doug, I can name 15 really top GMs in the league,
Kenny
and
Hall,
they don't,
yeah,
and the BS doesn't surround them.
No,
results surround them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't know. And honestly, like, we're kind of running out of time here, but like, I think it's a bit of a joke in seeing what's happened here in Edmonton, because I think the demise of the Oilers was pushing Kenny Holland out. That's just my personal opinion. Like, I think that it's been the demise of the organization in a way. And a guy like Kenny he doesn't have 16 different assistant general managers hovering around him, right?
All I know about Kenny Holland is and I was around him for a long, long time, and a friend forever. All Kenny does is lives and breathes team construction every day of the week. Yeah. Does he make mistakes like everybody? All of us have made many. Does he make mistakes? Yeah, he makes mistakes. Yeah, you sign but he lives and breathes hockey and team construction 24/7. That's all he does.
Yeah.
That's all he thinks about. And, anyway, he's one of the greatest GMs that have come down the pipe in the last 25 years. I don't give a what anybody says. He's done an unbelievable job in Detroit, Edmonton, 2 Stanley Cup finals, and in LA. We'll see what happens. But I mean, Kenny's had an unbelievable career, Hall of Fame career, obviously.
He's in the Hall, right? He knows.
But anyway, everybody will say, "Oh no, Kenny Holland this and Kenny Holland that," and people are excited because they hire a chief of staff in Toronto. Are you kidding me? Find me a right shot defenseman that can handle a power play, then I'll get excited.
Yeah, then we'll see. We'll see for sure. Mac, we've had many conversations on mental health over our time of knowing each other. And, you've been a great friend and someone I can lean on to go to for any advice or just someone to talk to. And, I know you do that with a lot of other people too. It was obviously sad hearing the news of Claude Lemieux.
Oh.
Just a quick story on Claude and in your passings with him and your dealings with him, and how important it is to check on your buddies and check on your friends and your family members.
Yeah, I was shocked to see it, and I've never had a relationship with Claude. I knew him to say hello to him. That was the extent of it. I obviously marveled at his hockey career. I coached. I mean, I remember the series when we played Colorado when I was coaching Florida, and how important he was to Colorado. He was a star in every playoff game he ever played.
Yeah.
But my only relationship with him is when I was an assistant coach in St. Louis. We drafted with our first pick Jocelyn Lemieux, who was Claude's younger brother, and I got to know Jocelyn really well over his career, whether it was a short time in St. Louis together, but after that, throughout his career, and running into him and chatting with him. So that was my really only experience with the Lemieux family was Jocelyn, and obviously Claude as a fan of his game, to be quite honest. And it's really it shocked me when I heard it. It shocked me, and it just brings back how many people are struggling, and it's a tough thing, to handle and deal with. And I just, you're sick about it and sad about it.
Yeah.
And I feel now, I didn't realize he was even, fairly close to us in Florida. And, now it's Brendan and the family, and it's tough go.
Yeah.
Really tough.
Yeah. It's really sad. It's hard.
Yep.
It's hard to put into words because.
Yeah, it is. And look, whether you're pro athletes or, the everybody else in society, everybody's dealing with it. Everybody's dealing with it.
Yeah.
Every family, there's a lot of families dealing with it, and you feel for them.
Yeah, you do. And
yeah.
For our listeners that are going through anything, we're always here for you guys. I'm here for you. Mac's here for you.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys that we mentioned in earlier episodes here, the Brulés, the Chimeras, all those people are thinking of you guys. Are here. And you're not alone. We're with you. We're a call. We're a message away. And, just send us a message on our website, and we'll get in touch with you if you're going through things, and we'll help you, guide you in a direction. We're not doctors, but we'll definitely find ways to put you in a position of finding that. So
Yep.
there's always a way out. We know it's tougher. It's hard to open up, but when you can, it's definitely helpful. And Mac, enjoy the rest of the week here. Enjoy the playoffs. I know we didn't even get into what's starting tonight in the Stanley Cup final, but I guess in the last question, who do you have winning the cup? We've
Oh,
done a lot.
geez, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm thinking Vegas should win the cup. But it's funny. George McPhee lives right next, actually down the street from me in Florida, and we were talking the day he fired Bruce Cassidy. We were at a, or I should say, a couple of days after they fired Bruce. We had an unbelievable dog walking session. The two of us walking our dogs and talking hockey. So I think Vegas, but I'm telling you what, Carolina, Brody Brindamore is a heck of a coach. He's a heck of a coach. They've done a good job building the team, and Roddy Brindamore is a heck of a coach. Do they have a chief of staff there?
They do not have a chief.
Anyway, I'm out.
I'm out. All right. Well, Mac, enjoy the series. It should be fun. And everyone keep in touch. We'll chat with you guys very soon. Have a good one, everyone. Cheers.